Hi there, thanks for joining me today. My name is Sarah and I'm a marine scientist at the University of South Florida. I study fish as well as the sea floor in the Gulf of Mexico. And I'm here today to enlist you in a mission, should you choose to accept it. I hope to show you why you should consider becoming a guardian of the Gulf. And the good news is, it's not that hard, and it's also super fun. Pictured here, I just wanted to show some of our guardians who participated in our mini summer camp this past July. They had a ton of fun and learned a lot, and each figured out in their own special ways how to become guardians of the Gulf. And what does it mean to become a guardian of the Gulf? Well, at its core, it means you're going to learn why we should champion our coastlines and why we need to take action and become better ocean stewards for everyone to benefit and to make sure that our coastlines and the oceans stay healthy for a long time. Before we go too far, I do want to talk to you about resilience and what resilience is and what it means. In a nutshell, being resilient means that you're able to bounce back after encountering something hard. It doesn't mean never being sad or upset, but it means that you're able to move forward quickly from something hard or challenging and do so in a positive way. Or as the shark quotes Dory from Finding Nemo, just keep swimming, swimming, swimming. All right, so knowing that, let's have a quick think. So either to yourself, or you can jot it down on a piece of paper, or maybe you have a small group of people to talk to nearby. I want you to think how you've been resilient in your own life. So when have you encountered something really difficult, but you had to eventually figure out how to move on and move on in a positive way? So for example, one time I broke my foot and it was really hard because I like to be up and active and do fun things. And instead of being really sad about it, I took the time to get into some other hobbies, and I found some really fun things that I like to do that don't require being up and running around, so that I was able to fill my time. And when my foot was all healed, I had new hobbies. And so not only could I go on and do the physical fun things I like to do, but I also had some other new things to do with my time. All right, so now we're going to talk about what it means for our coastlines to be resilient. And so when we talk about resilience of our coastlines instead of ourselves, it means something very similar. Our climate and coastlines are changing fast. We're seeing stronger storms, hotter days, extreme flooding, and more. We need your help to make sure that our coastlines stay in good shape and can be resilient in the face of these storms, high temperatures, and frequent flooding. And this is certainly true for the communities living along the coastline of the Gulf of Mexico, but it's also true for the oceans and communities around the world. And that's important because we're all connected. I'm sure some of you have seen something similar to this and maybe have learned already about the water cycle, but this is part of what connects us, whether we like it or not, or whether you knew it or not. So water on this planet moves in a cycle like what's depicted here. So we get rain and it runs off into different areas of the ground, and sometimes it goes underground, and then some of it also makes it to our ponds, lakes, rivers, and the ocean, and eventually the heat will cause it to evaporate, which goes into clouds, and then it rains again. And now, of course, that's very oversimplified, but you get the gist that we're all connected, and water is one of those ways that connects us all, not just locally, but globally. And to demonstrate this a little bit better, I'm going to use this really neat tool called River Runner. And if you or your teachers or your parents want to visit it, the URL is right here so that you can see it some other time. So real quick, I'm going to hop over here And I'm going to start by bringing us into Tampa Bay, since that's probably where most of us are right now. So let's zoom in there. So here's Florida, here's Tampa Bay, Tampa's here, St. Petersburg, Clearwater, Sarasota's down here. And so what this tool is going to do is it's going to show you that if you were able to follow a single raindrop anywhere in the United States and watch where it would end up once it falls on the ground. So where does it go? So since usually the Science Fest is held down by the University of South Florida, St. Petersburg area, I'm going to start there. So this is about where we usually are. So here's where I work, actually, the College of Marine Science. There's the Florida Fish and Wildlife Building, there's Albert Woodard Airport, and the University of South Florida, St. Petersburg. This little field right here is where we usually hold the Science Festival, and the Marine Quest is over here. So if it were to rain on our parade that day, I'm going to put my raindrop here, and here's where it would go. So you can see that actually, if it were to fall here and go into a storm drain, that storm drain is underground and it actually goes all the way this way before getting dumped out into Bayboro Harbor. And if we zoom out, so Bayboro Harbor is connected very clearly to the bay, which is connected to the Gulf of Mexico. So there you go. A raindrop that falls on the Science Fest is going to make its way all the way to the Gulf of Mexico, potentially. All right, so maybe that wasn't a huge surprise, but let's try a different one. Let's see if our fellow US citizens in the middle of the United States are in any way connected to us. All right, we're going to have a raindrop fall all the way up here in Illinois. So let's see where the water ends up if it falls all the way up there. So, what a surprise. It actually falls and it makes its way into rivers, and which those rivers, those smaller rivers and creeks, end up going into, let's see, a bigger river, and then those dump into possibly the biggest river of all, the Mississippi River, which I'm sure some of you have heard of. And that drains then into the Gulf of Mexico, which you can kind of see up here. So let's go to the Gulf of Mexico, if it'll let us. There we go. So even the water that falls all the way up north in Illinois does eventually make its way to the same body of water that our rain that falls on Florida in St. Petersburg makes it to. So why is that important to understand? Well, it's important because anything that we have on land, for good or for worse, can then make its way into these bigger bodies of water. And that's things like chemicals and fertilizers for your lawn or your crops and things, other types of pollutants. And so even people that live inland, far away from water, can have impacts on places like the Gulf of Mexico, like where we live. And so all those chemicals, trash, and other items that water encounters along the way can be carried a really long distance and have those impacts on bigger bodies of water. All right, let's pop back over here. So now that we've learned that we're connected through water, how else are we connected to one another and to the ocean? Well, some ways that you might not realize that you're connected to the ocean are pictured here. So let's start with this first one. So Some of you may really enjoy the hot weather that we have in Florida. Some of you maybe not, but no matter whatever type of weather you enjoy, our oceans are largely what cause different areas on Earth to have different types of weather and climate. Some of you may also enjoy eating seafood, so we need to make sure the oceans are healthy so that we can keep eating fish and shrimp and all of the other good, tasty things that we get from the oceans. Maybe this one's surprising. Do you brush your teeth every day? I hope so. Maybe twice a day? Well, there are some ingredients in your toothpaste that actually come from types of algae that live in the oceans. I hope you all also enjoy lots of different types of fruits and veggies. Well, those are often shipped from other places across oceans. So if you look at your produce, maybe it came from Brazil or Colombia or even from other parts of the United States. And also to grow these, it often uses fertilizers, which, as we learned in the last slide, those fertilizers can make their way into creeks and rivers, which eventually get dumped into oceans, and that can have some negative impacts on the fish that live there. And then lastly, I think lots of us probably get around in cars and buses. Well, the gas that powers those might come from deep in the Gulf of Mexico. There are actually oil reserves way under the sea floor that they drill for. And there's actually recently been an oil spill. You may have heard about some of these. And then there was a large one in the Gulf of Mexico about 10 years ago called the Deepwater Horizon. So again, there's pluses and minuses, right? We need these things, but we also need to make sure that we're getting them in ways that don't harm the environment that we're taking them from. Otherwise, they're not going to last very long. So let's think about how we can make sure that our coastlines are resilient so that they do last for a long time and keep producing things that we need, and that we can make sure that they are healthy for themselves. And how do we do that? Well, we can look to nature. So I'm going to let this video explain it better than I can. And this is all about the Georgia coast, but there's a lot of similarities to the Florida coast as our neighbors up north. So let's take a listen to what they have to say.
Coastal Georgia is a vibrant landscape of beaches, wetlands, and forests we proudly call home. From the Savannah River to the Satilla River, Georgia's coastline connects 100 miles of our coastal communities and natural resources. This network of undisturbed natural areas and open spaces is an example of Georgia's green infrastructure. It provides our communities and wildlife with vital services, such as clean air and water, habitat, food, and flood control. Green infrastructure allows for healthy ecosystems and plays an important role in managing rainwater. Plants and soil naturally slow down rainwater and cause it to spread, allowing water to soak into the soil. This process filters the rain and removes harmful pollutants. Eventually, this filtered water feeds into aquifers, wetlands, rivers, and coastal waters. Over time, our natural landscapes have been replaced with impervious surfaces, such as buildings, roads, and sidewalks. When rain hits these hard surfaces, it quickly flows off, failing to soak into the soil. The result is stormwater runoff, which can cause many negative impacts such as flooding, storm sewer overflows, and aquatic habitat loss. Runoff picks up harmful pollutants like fertilizers, chemicals, pet waste, and trash before being transported to our sewers and drains. Eventually, this polluted water is emptied into our rivers, lakes, and oceans as non-point source pollution, a type of pollution that accumulates waste from various locations. All of this occurs without the benefit of treatment from our natural landscapes. Pollution can make our waters unfit for human recreation, impairs drinking water supplies, and damages natural ecosystems. So, how can we help? we can implement green infrastructure practices and restore the ability of our landscapes to better manage stormwater by using plants, trees, and soils. We can help slow rainwater, enabling it to spread out and filter through the soil so that more water soaks into the ground. These are natural treatment systems that clean the water before it enters our waterways. Green infrastructure creates beautiful, sustainable landscapes, helps save money, and protects our coast's precious resources. You are an important link in this chain. You can reduce the impacts of stormwater by working to create and maintain green space in your community. Advocate for trees, vegetation, and natural water flow in your landscapes, parks, and public rights of way. Conserve natural areas and restore native vegetation along streams, marshes, and other coastal waterways. Reduce or eliminate the use of harmful fertilizers and pesticides, and seek non-chemical solutions. Keep our storm drains clear by responsibly disposing of trash, animal waste, and cleaners. Advocate for pervious surfaces, such as permeable pavers or gravel, over impervious ones, including asphalt and concrete. Create a rain garden that collects, filters, and soaks rainwater on site. Direct gutters and downspouts into permeable landscapes. With these green infrastructure solutions, we can revitalize our urban spaces, provide healthy communities, and beautify our community landscapes. We'll also boost our economy and protect our state's precious water resources and the ecosystems that sustain all living things. Let's work together to protect, preserve, and restore coastal Georgia's water quality and natural resources.
All right. So as you heard in the video, your communities and your environment need you. And the good news is maybe you want to just continue doing these things on your own time, which is fantastic. But if it is something that you want to, maybe as you grow up and have to find a job, the possibilities are absolutely endless if you want to find a job helping to make our coastlines resilient. So these are just a few of the many, many job possibilities to help your communities and your environment. So you could be someone like me who's a scientist who gets to go out in the field and research complex problems. Or maybe you like math and you'd rather do something like an engineer where you get to actually help plan cities and find and develop different machines and systems that are innovative solutions to pollution, or help develop some of those green nature-based things in our communities like the video described that help deal with lots of rain or help to decrease the amount of heat in cities. And it's also important to be that we need people who are artists, and you can use your art to help garner support for the environment and show everyone the beauty of our coastlines and why we need to work to keep them healthy and preserve them. So let's do another quick think. So right now, again, with a small group or by yourself, or you can write it down, I want you to think about what hobbies or skills that you have that you could apply to help make our coastlines more resilient. For example, I really like writing. So sometimes I'll write short stories about the work that we're doing on our project, and I'll put it up on our website and tweet it out and put it on other social media to communicate with a wider audience about what we're doing and why it's important. So now we're going to hear from some people in the Tampa Bay area who actually have jobs in coastal resiliency. So first we're going to hear from Winnie, who is a sustainability planner at the University of South Florida, St. Petersburg. And then we'll hear from Chris, who was able to manage a rebuild of the Maximo Marina, also in St. Petersburg, Florida.
campus greener is trying to use less plastic in our campus, trying to encourage the use of renewable energy, things like solar energy, trying to encourage people not to waste food and to just use what they need and not to use what they don't need. I like what I do because I work with people, so I don't have to be in the office the whole day from 8 to 5. I get to go out, I get to be with nature, I get to meet amazing people, I get to work with different departments on a daily basis, so that's just amazing about it. I like the fact that I also work with data. I get to see how much, say, energy we are producing from our solar panels. That's really exciting and amazing to be able to make use of this data. While I was in Kenya, I used to work with farmers and I used to help them farm sustainably. And by that, I mean the use of less fertilizer, the use of less pesticides. So just trying to, work with farmers to make them make the best out of their yields by using less harmful chemicals. Sustainability matters because the planet takes good care of us. It gives us food, it gives us energy, it gives us water, it gives us life. Every single thing that you do matters. I feel like people usually feel like I'm not even making a difference, by just turning off my light, I'm not making a difference. But you are making a difference. You are making a difference on your pocket by turning off the light because your electric bill will be lower at the end of the month. And you're also making a difference because now the electric companies don't have to burn extra coal to power your house. So human resilience is looking at situations and not being, self-pitying yourself. I mean, you can do just maybe 1%, but out of that, just coming out strong and being like, you got this, and you can always adapt to whatever the situation is gonna throw at you. So it's like mapenzi haibagui. Love doesn't choose. It doesn't choose, you're Christian, I'm Winnie, you're white, I'm black. Love is love. So yeah, it just says, mapenzi haibagui.
So now that we've heard from Winnie, I want you to have our last quick think. So based on what you heard in Winnie's video, what are some more ways that you think that you could act more sustainably in your own life? So Winnie mentioned a few, such as turning off your lights when you're out using them and just making small changes, because like Winnie said, you might not think you're making a difference with doing small things on your own, but if everyone does them, it makes a big difference. All right, so let's now move on to Chris and hear just a little bit about what he does.
To me, resiliency means if an event happens and the wind blows, the water comes up, waves start moving things around, how quickly are you going to be able to get back to your daily life? I get to be in an environment and work in an environment, even if I'm sitting at a desk, working in an environment that I love. and that I would spend all my time in if I could. But I'm not a dolphin. I'm not some fish who can swim around all day, but I really get to see the water from their perspective. So my job and what I'm passionate about is looking at nature. How's nature done it? What's worked for nature? Now looking at a structure and looking at an opportunity where we need to fix something or there's a problem to solve. How can nature give us clues that we can problem solve with this area and use those examples?
All right, I'm going to pause it there, but if you want to see the rest, I will give you the link in just a few minutes. So as you heard, Chris gets to work on making the infrastructure and buildings more resilient. So that Winnie is more on the social science and the hard science side, whereas Chris is more of an engineer. And as you heard, so again, there's lots of different ways that your passions and your interests can be translated into some really cool jobs to help make our coastlines resilient. And so I want to thank you for spending some time with me today, and I hope that I've shown you how exciting, important, and fun being a guardian of the Gulf can be. If you'd like to further your mission, you can do things right now, today, to be a guardian of the Gulf. Just like Winnie said, you could try to turn off lights that you're not using, or go out and pick up some trash around your school or neighborhood so it doesn't make it into those waterways, which eventually make it into our oceans and impact our coastlines. And then you could just try to use less water when you're washing dishes, brushing your teeth, or bathing. And if you want to find out more about being a guardian of the Gulf, you can go to our website right here, where you can rewatch the videos that I showed of Chris and Winnie, and also find some fun activity booklets, which are downloadable and talk more about how you can be a guardian. And you're also more than welcome to contact me. Shoot me an email if you have any questions. And I hope that you all have learned and want to become a guardian of the Gulf in your own way.